I wanted to make a short video showing some lessons learned and some thoughts after my first long distance backpacking trip. So the context is I'm an ultra runner, I'm a trail runner. I do a lot of that. I've been doing that for 17 years now, and have just sort of gone over to backpacking here in the last couple of years, and have done just weekend trips before this past TRT through hike that I did, which took me 10 days. So I just wanted to give some ideas. You know, maybe you're a runner, maybe you are thinking about doing the same thing, and it may help you make the transition. Or if you're a backpacker, maybe you could relate anyway. So my expectation of the miles, I was kind of surprised. Initially, I wanted to do 20 miles per day. Wasn't really sure if I could do that, sustaining that day after day. And but really in the back of my mind, I kind of had this expectation that I'd be able to do more, right? But what I found is when I would do 20-mile days, it would require that I was basically in like race mode all day long. So it didn't give me a whole lot of time to enjoy the trail the way I thought I would on my vacation. So it was a lot of work, and it took a lot out of me, especially given the elevation change. I live at sea level, and I was going between, say, 7,000 and 10,000 feet. So it took a while to adjust to the altitude, and I did a lot of hill climbing with this additional weight that I normally don't have when I'm running. So, you know, it did dial back my expectations a little bit of the ground that I could cover realistically. 15 miles seemed to be a sweet spot. If I did a 15-mile day, that gave me plenty of time to cover some decent distance, and you know, also enjoy, you know, taking breaks and just being out in the woods. So 15 miles at my current fitness level and gear setup seems to be about right for me. The pack weight was more of an issue than I thought. I also used to be in the Army, so like when I was a third of my current age, we would do force march, which with much heavier packs, mainly on the roads, like gravel roads and blacktop roads, not trail situations. And you know, it was basically I can't compare 18 years old with what I am now, so it's a little bit difficult. But yeah, it was a 34-pound pack when I left the house, so that was with like a liter of water and all my food. The base weight was 28 pounds, which is kind of decent, but you know, far cry from ultralight, right? That's not an ultralight backpack. 28 pounds though isn't so bad with the amount of money that I spent on my gear. But it did, you know, slow me down more than I thought it would. As far as my shoes went, so I was getting issues with blisters that I normally don't get. After 3 days, I wore a hole through one of my heels, completely through a pair of socks, which is something that doesn't happen when I run. I've got socks that are many years old, and they're not really even thin. So I was down a pair of socks. I only had one backup pair, and then I switched to my Injinjis, which are those socks with the toes in it, which actually caused me to have a little more friction on my toes than I normally would. So I did have 3 or 4 blisters on my feet. So I had to abandon that, and I also had to relace my shoes. I had them laced the way trail runners typically do, where they skip the first eyelet at the bottom, and then you do these loops at the top, so it sort of locks your ankle in so that you're not jamming your toes at the bottom of the toe box. That was causing me issues. It was causing some different folds in the shoe compared to a running movement. So I was getting some sore spots on the top of my foot just from the fabric folding in a different way. So I just laced them through all the eyelets like you normally would any other shoe, and replaced took off the Injinjis, got a pair of Smart Wool socks in Tahoe City, and then my feet started to get better after that. So you have this added weight, I presume, from the backpack, which is just putting a different load factor on your feet causing them to spread maybe more, and plus given the motion of walking versus running, it's just a different sort of animal, so you get different results for the friction points. So that's what I had there. Just some quick math. When I run, I'm doing about 1,700 strides per mile. And on this backpacking, I was doing 2,200 strides. So that's about 500 additional steps per mile. Over 20 miles, that's 10,000 cycles, right? So I was getting also a lot more wear to these shoes. I normally retire running shoes after 300 miles because the foam the high density foam starts to break down. So I'll get like soreness in my knee or foot or ankle or something like that. And I know it's time to change my shoes. Plus I track the miles. Normally when I get rid of the shoes, they're almost in like new condition. There's hardly any wear to the tread. The uppers have really no problems with them at all. It's just the foam breaks down and they're really no good for running anymore, unless you like running with pain. These shoes, I can still run in them. I had 100 miles, running miles on them when I started the hike, and then I put 174 miles on them on the TRT. So they are showing a lot more wear than what I normally do. So let me show you one of these. So I don't know if you can see this, but there's quite a bit of tread wear, which I normally don't see. And I've got some separation going on here of the rubber to the upper. And I also developed a tear in this shoe. So I never get this with running. They're, like I said, they're normally like almost brand new shoes when I throw them out. So that's just an observation I made. Okay, what else do we have? So I talked about the blisters, that's good. Yeah, I also had, for my pack, I was, over time I was getting these rashes on my shoulder and also bruises. So I was getting jabbed a little bit from the shoulder straps, causing bruising. I don't think you can train away like a bruise situation. It's not like sort of like a blister situation where your feet can toughen up. So I think that's just something I may have to deal with. I tried adjusting the straps around. I mean, it was manageable, but it was there. I did not expect that. I didn't have any problems with my waist though. The waist belt seemed to really cause no problems. I did not wear a belt. I learned that through my training hikes, to not wear a belt when I was hiking, because that would cause extra friction points with that, you know, with the belly strap going around from the backpack. To try to help eliminate some of the weight and the bulk, I was running out of room in my backpack from time to time because I wasn't always folding everything up as tight as I possibly could. One of the things that is really the only thing I could get rid of at the time was my pillow. It's a little inflatable pillow, weighs less than a pound, but it was bulky and I didn't really need it. It wasn't that comfortable to begin with, so I threw that away when I got to a garbage can. That's really the only weight reduction I made. I just tried to keep my food down to 2-day carry and tried to optimize the water. Tried to pay attention to the app where the next water was available. The information was not always accurate, but it was something to go by. I find that I tend to drink a lot of water, and when I try to manage my water to keep minimum inventories, I usually am very uncomfortable. So I ran out of water a couple times, and I did not like that. So unfortunately, water's heavy, and that's just one of the challenges with the backpacking is how am I going to manage the water situation. So I do have some potential weight savings. So like I said, my base weight was 28 pounds. I've got pretty standard, you know, non-ultralight equipment from REI. I've got a backpack that weighs 2 pounds 11 ounces. It's the Flash 55. It's a 55-liter backpack from REI brand, and I could spend $700-800 and maybe get an ultralight backpack that weighs a little bit less than a pound. So I could save about a pound, pound and a half on that. I carried a bear can, which weighs 3.5 pounds by itself. That 3.5 pounds is a lot. It would make a huge difference. it's just given the bear situation here in the Sierra, I don't think it's wise. So I'm going to carry some sort of bear canister. I may buy a Bear Vault 250, if that's the small size. I might do that since I carry minimal food. But there is 3.5 pounds right there. I had bear spray, which I didn't actually need, and the bears don't seem to really target human beings. They just look for their food and hang out in camp. So the bear spray is really not necessary, but as sort of a safety factor, I'll probably still carry that for a while, but most people do not. Almost no one does in black bear country. That's more for grizzly bear territory. My tent is a 4.5 pound 2-person REI tent. I love that tent. It's comfortable. It is heavy though, relatively speaking, and I could get an ultralight tent that weighs less than 1 pound, but it would be a single wall tent, which tends to accumulate condensation, but that's a significant weight savings there. But that's another $700 or $800. The stove, I only use my stove, I think 2 or 3 times, and I only used it so I could use up my mashed potatoes, and I had the stove, so why not? But didn't need it. The fuel can and the stove itself, they're a little bit bulky, and then I had the Army canteen cup that I used as a cup, and don't even really need that. I think the packaging that this food comes in, you can cold soak it right there, or I could use save an old Skippy jar or something like that and do cold soaking instead of cooking. Packaged food seems to work okay with me. I don't necessarily need to cook, so I think next trip, leaving the stove at home. So that's about 1 pound maybe. I could also lose stretch goal here, right? 20 pounds body weight maximum maybe I could shed, but it's a large challenge to try to keep that off. So I did over the course of the 10 days lose 12 pounds, and I could tell that coupled with the adaptation to the elevation, it was making the hiking was getting easier as I was going on. So I did drop quite a bit of weight on the backpacking trip, and every pound counts. So one of the things I did, you talk to a lot of backpackers when you're out there, and everybody's, especially when you're new like me, you're looking for tips and everything. So I was talking to people about gear and whatever. I was actually surprised with the number of backpackers that I saw who weren't necessarily ultralight backpackers. Even the PCT thru hikers, a lot of them seem to have way more stuff than I thought they would have. There were certainly their share of ultralight backpackers out there, but I would talk to some of them. Some of their packs weighed 40 pounds. They said, well, I just like my stuff and I'm going to take it with me. So, you don't necessarily have to go for max miles every day. It's not a race. That's one thing that I kind of learned. Taking it easy out there and enjoying the outdoors is really, for me, the more enjoyable aspect of the backpack, not necessarily hammering out the miles. I did have a time limit, so I did have to push to get done. So I did need those 10 days to do it. I had one more day left, but I didn't want to use that one. So reduced miles would be more enjoyable in my opinion. So I did have some equipment malfunctions. A couple nights into it, my zipper sort of jammed up with the fabric in there and I could not loosen it up. So I had to go, it was in almost the closed position all the way, so I had to enter and exit my backpack from the top. So it was like putting on a gigantic sock. It was kind of awkward, but I guess better than the thing being stuck in the open position and then just using it as a blanket. A couple nights got very cold, but I had a 45-degree sleeping bag, which is the lightest sleeping bag that I have. That's why I took it. It got me by, but I had a couple chilly nights. The chest strap on my backpack also popped off. It took me a day or so to get used to not having that because I always had it fastened before, but I can live with it or without it. I did reattach it, and when I cleaned my backpack when I returned, I was actually surprised. There's a little hidden feature on there that I've never heard about, and I'll show it to you. So I was wondering what this sort of bulky shape to the clip was. And as you can see here, there's actually a whistle. That's a built-in whistle there. I had no idea. Probably never use it, but you know, the things you learn along the way. Interesting. So there was an experienced backpacker that I ran into. He was a young man in his 20s, but he had hiked, you know, he's Triple Crown, so he did the AT, CDT, PCT, plus numerous other trails. He was out there doing the PCT again, and then did the TRT as a side trip. When we were running it, when I was in Desolation Wilderness, I ran into him again, and he was talking about these other people that had their bear stolen, and it was kind of well known on the forum, the different forum out there, that that was the issue with Desolation Wilderness. The bears were used to going after people's food sacks. So the PCT thru hikers, they ditched their bear cans, I think at Sonora Pass, which is further south than Tahoe. And the bears over there in Desolation seemed to catch on to the fact that it was easy pickings. So, yeah, ran into two women who had their food stolen, and they night hiked until they felt safe, until 4 a.m. And we're at the top of Dick's Pass there at 10,000 feet. And they were without food, so they were about 2 days, day and a half, 2 days away from Tahoe City at that point. So yeah, you get kind of stuck when the bears take your food like that. And so this experienced hiker was telling me that the best thing to do is just sleep with your bear bag. Well, I mean, with your food bag, you know, inside your tent, which really goes against all the guidance you hear out there and all the safety information that there is about bear safety. But, you know, apparently the bears really will not enter your tent, at least these black bears that we have. So that's how he keeps safe. He doesn't have a bear. He doesn't even have a bear hang. He doesn't hang his food. The bears know how to unhang him anyway. But the bears there, once they get acclimated and know that there is food available, they just do not leave. So they're kind of like squirrels. They just hang out, and, you know, these are large animals, and campers can't scare them away. They just kind of hang out until they get another scrap. So I really don't want to deal with bears, so I'm gonna keep my bear can. So that's all I can think of right now, and I did enjoy the trip very much. I plan on doing more backpacking in the future. It was altogether a very good experience. The backpacker community is just a positive vibe out there. Every encounter I had with a backpacker was very positive. You know, people are focused on the basics. You know, where's the water? How's the town food? Did you see any bears? You know, just chit-chatting, because people, you know, there are a lot of people out there soloing. So, you know, when you're out there a couple hours by yourself, you do tend to get a little bit chatty when you run into somebody. So it was just a lot of fun, and more fun than I thought it would be. So thank you for watching.